Bitcoin keeps climbing higher and we keep following the price higher, of course, there's no reason for us to sell out of Bitcoin just yet. I believe we have a long way to go ahead of us to capture more profit, more upside. So, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to once again go over the Bitcoin price. And here is the position I showed yesterday, which I couldn't show the post market fluctuations in the value because it only updates during market open hours. But as of today, U.S. market close, we are up $9,407.85, almost 10,000. So a really nice profit. So far, we have not locked it in because I believe we're gonna go. We still have much more upside. So I'm gonna go over why I believe that, and I'm gonna go over a few things, some elements that we just need. We just gotta keep a reminder of because we've seen something like this happen in the past a lot when it's due to macroeconomic events and announcements and the way these evolve. So if we remember that we have a CPI report coming very, very soon. This is a very, very important CPI report. The expectations are very high. And by high, I mean technically low because the expectations are that CPI, the optimism is going to be very, very low, much, much lower to push, an easier setup for the Fed to want to cut rates earlier. Now, besides that, right, we don't have the CPI report yet, and we don't have updated tariff inflation news because that's going to be pretty much valued into the CPI that we'll get soon enough. And I believe that's next week on the 15th. But the reason we need to keep this in mind, and before I go into what I am personally doing with that position I shared with you guys, and a lot of other small trades I take on the side, but that's the one I'm primarily focused on. We got to keep in mind that we have seen Bitcoin rally aggressively and make a new all-time high very recently. I believe it went even higher today, like 118, before coming down a little bit. But we got to keep in mind that a lot of this is mainly due to optimism for the Fed to cut rates a lot sooner than originally expected, a lot sooner than we all expected earlier this year as well. And the thing is, the CPI report, I mean, obviously the jobs report that came out not that long ago was, making it easier for the Fed to hold rates. But the CPI is what really, really matters, and we'll get that information soon. So far, the Fed officials that gave their opinions, and it's very dovish opinions they gave, is at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter too much. It's what Jerome Powell says. It's what the official announcement is. And, well, that's going to be highly influenced by CPI. They just, Jerome Powell is waiting for that information to come out. So purely, basing our view on risk on assets or just the overall market in general, it doesn't matter. It is, in my opinion, foolish to, just go based off of that. So let's wait for CPI. Let's see what happens because right now everyone's expecting CPI to be very good. Everyone's expecting FOMC at the end of July to be very good. So the price is trying to factor that in going higher. Now, if CPI comes in as expected or even a little bit under, a little bit over, it doesn't matter. The amount of short-term liquidity pushing Bitcoin higher, in my opinion, can easily, just as easy as bullish volume went into Bitcoin, we can easily see that bullish volume begin to exit out of Bitcoin just as easily. So this all depends on CPI, and if it's not blown out the water like super low CPI report, then I'm expecting Bitcoin to fall, at least in the short term, and have a big dip, a big fluctuation coming into some retracements I'm going to go over. We've seen this happen so many times in highly anticipated, deadlines. So we just got to keep that in mind going forward. This could all just be factoring in the announcement, and then that short-term liquidity can exit as easily as it came in. But until that happens, or at least focus on just these structures themselves, I will move. I haven't done this yet, but I'm going to move all of these retracement areas higher to follow the price higher. And I do this all the time. I've done this in previous structures last year, this year, many times. and we're gonna. When I say we, I mean I am going to continue to push these higher as the price continues to go up, because I want these retracement areas to be updated to, have a more solid support area if the price decides to retrace now instead of later. These imbalance areas are still valid. They're still overlapping within the retracements. And I said in yesterday's video, I'm not really going to go over it too much, but I want to add at least another $20,000 into this BitU position, because I believe Bitcoin will go much higher, but I don't want to add at any random price. It doesn't matter if the price goes up like crazy, continuing to go up like crazy. It doesn't matter. I have enough in to feel happy with the position, but I'm not over leveraging myself, and that's very important for traders to not over leverage themselves and just be well positioned for, not just to DCA into a swing, but also to not be washed out by all of these waves. We'll eventually see Bitcoin does a lot. So basically 5K increments added at least another 20K, most likely throughout July. If this retracement happens, it will happen before July ends. And then funny enough, we have CPI coming out real soon. But yeah, 5K, discounted 5K. This area, I didn't update. Now, I said I'm not expecting this area to happen again, but I do want to update it to follow the price higher, the overall retracement, because even though it was filled here, it was never filled completely. Now, again, even though it wasn't filled completely, I still don't believe that we will trade within this purple. The moment the price breaks up, if it breaks over the swing high right here, then I'm going to stop updating the purple retracement area, because now it's being hopeful. Following the price higher as an overall retracement after the price consolidates for a decent amount of time, consolidates sideways and holds bullish momentum, it's not worth using this anymore. So this will be the last time I move it up. And again, this isn't something I'm realistically looking forward to. It can happen, but this is pretty much in the past. I'll leave it there. I want to continue to add more within these retracement areas. All of these levels are buy signals for me, at least. And now that Bitcoin is much higher and is holding really, really strong momentum, when the price begins to drop, we can see the RSI max out to the bottom side very quickly, very easily, as we try to test support areas. Now, it's very important to understand this first imbalance area overlapping with a 100% extension at $114,507. In my opinion, is very significant because it's overlapping with the first orange retracement. There's a very strong support, in my opinion, at 114,500. But even if that breaks again, I'm going to continue to accumulate in each of these levels, because Bitcoin can very, very easily, even if it comes down aggressively for any reason, it can quickly recover. The macro is just setting up for that. A lot of deep value Bitcoin has been bought up. There's a lot of FOMO building up on Bitcoin right now. I just don't believe sustained dips can hold. I believe they'll recover very, very quickly. So that's that. And then the other thing too is that yesterday I said if the price comes down into this area, then I would like to add. But if it holds above it, well, now I'm looking for, easily 128,000 or even 130 if you want to round it up to that overall number. But this area is becoming much more likely, much more important for me, at least. Even if we come into support, we can either go straight up to this next 1.236 extension at 128,000 very, very easily. And I've been, I think I had this green area up here for since 2024, and I've been keeping track of it, documenting it, and we're finally trading within it. This area to me represents FOMO. It represents high volume, bullish liquidity flowing into Bitcoin, because the moment we go into these specific numbers, for some reason that triggers some kind of psychological effect on a lot of investors, traders, institutions, and they just want to accumulate Bitcoin like crazy, seeing these overall numbers get filled. So I wouldn't be surprised. Again, we can either go straight up to it or come down into support and then go up higher. Regardless, they go into the same area. The only difference is that I will not accumulate, or I will accumulate, and that's all it comes down to. And there's no reason to rush into any of this. There's no reason to over leverage yourself. I am personally just gonna wait for Bitcoin to come into support if I want to add more, and I do come into support. RSI begins to become discounted, and that'll set up, a much more attractive rally into 128,000 plus. Now, I believe this can happen very, very soon, but again, we're just waiting, we're watching. So far, Bitcoin in the micro level, if you guys like 5 and 15-minute time frames, this is holding very, very well. We can probably even see a very micro picture triangle pattern forming to try to, sustain the price, consolidate it for a strong breakout. But regardless, this is all just speculation. At the end of the day, to me, it's very realistic Bitcoin will be much higher soon. It can either happen or it can come down into support and go higher from there. Regardless, I know when I want to accumulate and I know when I want to begin selling. And the moment I really want to begin considering shaving the position will be the moment we break above 128,000. But I don't plan on aggressively, selling chunks of the positions until we're in this area right here. And I still have an opportunity to accumulate more reasonably, responsibly if we come into supports. But regardless, it doesn't matter. Higher prices overall. So yeah, this is basically what I am looking at right now. It's super simple. We were able to, this area, it's not invalidated because we did reach it previously, but I'm now invalidating a second test of it, at least in my own charts. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I reset that. Catch you guys on the next one.